Hi everybody, this has been a B007 back for another 10-minute spoiler-free movie review, and today I'm talking about a charming historical romantic drama called A Little Chaos, which is directed by and also stars Alan Rickman, as well as Kate Winslet and Matthias Schoenaerts. The movie is set in the court of Louis XIV during the period where Versailles is being built, and to that end King Louis, a rather jaded and harassed figure, has hired André Le Nôtre as his landscape gardener. André, played by Matthias Schoenaerts, is a man who loves order and formal, well-laid-out grounds, and he comes into conflict, fascination with a woman called Sabine de Barras, played by Kate Winslet. And Sabine has a very different idea of beauty. She likes a little chaos. She likes things to be overgrown, romantic, organic, spontaneous. And against his best judgment, André allows her to take over a small part of the gardens at Versailles and bring her vision to bear. Now, Sabine de Barras is obviously a character that could not have existed in the time of Louis XIV, but in this wonderful confection we're asked to imagine what would happen if an independent, strong-willed but very sensitive woman were placed in the artificiality of Versailles, and not only does she bring her little chaos to the garden, but also to that very formalized, in some respects quite cruel, courtly world. She's seen as something of an alien, something of an oddity, and I think that attitude is really shown by Stanley Tucci, who plays a courtier. He's so flamboyant and camp, it's wonderful. And as he tells her, she is natural in a world where no one is, and that itself is something fascinating for everybody. The movie is charming, it's beautifully shot in stately homes, I believe, in England. It creates a world that's just, you want to live in it, it's so charming. Alan Rickman's direction is stylish, it's elegant, and all the combination of elements in this film just combine really gracefully, that it seems like it has more heft than the frivolity of what is basically the comedy genre of The Outsider in unusual circumstances. And I think that's because there is a little profundity here. There's a wonderful scene in which Sabine, played by Kate Winslet, meets the king's discarded mistress, played by Jennifer Ayler, who I think for many people in England is best known as Elizabeth Bennet in that Colin Firth version of Pride and Prejudice. She's still so beautiful. But anyway, there's a wonderful scene where Kate Winslet describes to the king how women of all ages have their charms and beauties and just need a little tenderness and a little care to see them bloom again. And it's a wonderfully piquant scene. The drama, of course, plays itself out in the blossoming relationship between Sabine and the king on one hand, which is one of sage advice to a weary man, but more importantly the relationship between Sabine and André, the landscape gardener, who is married, and he's married to a careerist woman who's playing that court game as one ought to. And the wife is played by Helen McCrory, and of course she definitely wants Sabine out of the picture. So that's the more cliched romantic element of the film. There are the usual last hour dramatic climaxes when one wonders if Sabine's garden's going to be pulled off and where the evil villain, who is Helen McCrory's character, might sabotage it. And in a sense that's all rather cheesy, but by that point I think you've come to love the characters so much and really to just go with a film that is a historical frivolity. It could never have happened, but isn't it wonderful to think so? Isn't it wonderful to think these conversations might have had a chance of existing? My only criticism, if there is one, and maybe it's because I'm not a gardener, is that I was a little underwhelmed with the final garden that I saw. It didn't seem wild and beautiful at all, but I think that's, a very minor quibble in a film that looks and feels handsome and sunlit and organic and beautiful. And I think to set a film in Versailles and pull off that trick is a very rare one indeed. So much praise to Alan Rickman. And now that the Harry Potter movies are over and he doesn't have those long, unpredictable commitments, one hopes he might direct more. I'd love to see him do more, because there's a subtlety to the acting here and a subtlety to the way in which he stages the big grand confrontations, which you don't often see in romantic drama. In that scene that I mentioned where Sabine offers some kindness to the king's ex-mistress, there's a scene that precedes that where you have all the women at court meeting in a little secret room and sort of gossiping and discussing their figures and their children, and it's just so beautifully authentic and well observed, even in this very formal, fantastical, historical world. It's a moment of real intimacy, and I'd just love to see Alan Rickman do some more of that. So with that, high praise for A Little Chaos. I think it's a light film, but with a profound scene running through it. It's perfect for spring. But if you've seen it and agree or disagree with my take, please feel free to leave a comment on the blog at b007.com. The movie was released in Portugal on March 5th. It's currently on release in Australia, Romania, Kuwait, the United Kingdom and Ireland. It opens in Slovakia this weekend. It opens in Germany on April 30th, in France on May the 6th, in the Netherlands on June 18th, in Brazil on June 25th, and in the United States on June 26th. The movie has a running time of 117 minutes, but really does not feel that long. And it's also been rated R in the US, which I really don't understand why. There's not any real swearing that I can remember. There's very little violence. There's some love scenes, but they didn't strike me as particularly fruity. But anyway, it's a very gentle R, if it indeed it is at all. Thank you for listening.